The Effects of Structured Concept Maps on Second Language Reading Comprehension by Madeline Chambers. I want to start my presentation by discussing the motivations behind this action research project. I'm an instructor of Spanish as a second language course, and I teach adult learners who struggle with ambiguity. Because of this, reading is difficult for them as they get caught up in the meaning of every word, and their test scores suffer as a result. I also remember reading word by word as a second language learner, and therefore wanted to consider a tool or strategy to help second language learners with their reading. Now I will speak a little bit about what concept maps are and how to create and use them. Concept maps are visual organizers that help students see connections between ideas and identify main ideas and supporting details. Concept maps can be used as a pre-reading activity, as a way to activate prior knowledge, or as a during reading activity to help students visually represent and organize their thoughts. It is important to model how to create or use a concept map, and concept maps can be completed completely by students or completely by teachers, or constructed or guided by teachers but filled in by students. Some of the benefits of concept maps that have been identified by researchers are that they help develop learner autonomy and self-efficacy, which have been shown to increase motivation. They also help students see relationships among concepts and promote metacognitive awareness. They also draw on bottom-up and top-down processing. In a study conducted by Pham Thiraphong and Pothitha in a university in Thailand, students read 6 articles and used concept maps as they read. Their retelling test scores improved from the first article to last, and students reported that the concept maps helped them pick out main ideas and identify relationships between ideas. Tajedin and Tabatabade studied high school ESL students and found that the experimental group outperformed the control group both in overall reading comprehension and recall of propositions or the words used to connect ideas in a concept map. I will now share studies conducted with computer-assisted concept maps. Liu, Chen, and Chang found that over the course of 3 reading tests, student scores increased on the experimental group after using the inspiration tool. They also noticed that the maps had a more continuous effect on poor readers than good readers, and that concept maps enhanced other reading strategies like listing, enforcing, and viewing. Diaz found that CMAP helped Brazilian students improve their academic reading, and narrative showed increased student autonomy and control. My research question in this action research project was, what are the effects of structured concept maps on second semester Spanish students' comprehension of main idea and supporting details in a reading passage? This action research project took place in a second semester Spanish class at NC State University. The class meets 3 times a week for 50 minutes each session. Participants were 11 undergraduate students, 4 females and 7 males, ages 18 to 22. Students were selected to participate in the study on the basis that they were enrolled in my partner's class. My partner is another graduate TA in my master's program and shares an office with me. The outline of my action research study is as follows. First, my partner collected baseline data from her students. Her students completed a pre-reading activity, read a text, and answered questions on a Google form, and then recorded a conversation with the partner about the main idea and supporting details of the text. For the intervention, students did the same thing, but during reading they completed a structured concept map. Next, students wrote out how they felt about using concept maps, and then I began analyzing the data and writing my report. The baseline data collected from the 11 participants shows that the Google Forms average was a 74.17, with a median of 80% and a range of 20 to 90%. After analyzing students' recorded conversations, I found that 3 out of 4 partner groups answered the first question correctly, and 1 group answered it partially correctly. This question asked students to identify the main idea of the text. The second question, which asked about supporting details, was answered correctly by 3 groups and incorrectly by 1 group. The third question, asking about distracting details, was answered correctly by 2 groups, partially correctly by 1 group, and incorrectly by 1 group. Moving on to the post-intervention data, the overall average increased by about 6 points to an 80.09%. The median increased by 3 points to an 83, and the bottom number in the range increased by 30 points to a 50. 6 student scores increased, 3 significantly and 3 slightly. 1 student score stayed the same, both at 100, and 4 student scores decreased. An analysis of the post-intervention recorded conversations revealed that 3 groups were able to correctly identify the main idea of the story, 1 was able to identify it partially correctly, and 1 group was unable to identify the main idea. The question showed a 5% decrease from the baseline scores. All 5 groups were able to identify supporting details correctly, a 12.5 increase from the baseline data. Finally, 4 groups were able to identify the distracting details correctly, and 1 identified it partially correctly. This was a 17.5% increase from the baseline data. Hello. I also noticed that 8 students paraphrased nicely, but 3 seemed to fill out the map with quotes from the story. Finally, after looking at each student's work on their concept map and comparing this to their Google Forms scores, I concluded that thorough completion of the concept map did not necessarily lead to increased multiple choice quiz scores. This could either mean that the quiz wasn't an accurate measure of learning, or, more probably, the students were unable to transfer their knowledge, which could indicate that students need more practice with concept maps, or that concept maps were not as helpful as the Google Forms quizzes would suggest. About a week after implementing the intervention, my partner had students answer the 3 questions on the left side of the screen, as part of a written self-evaluation given to students after their chapter test. 5 students reported that they felt that the concept map helped them. 4 said it helped them a little or felt indifferent about it, and 1 directly said that she did not think that it helped her.